What's up, Ray?
Hello, Steven.
Dude, you look great today.
Thank you.
This,
I was with you when I got this, and I saw it on the rack and thought, that is the ugliest shirt I've ever seen, and I need to own it. So,
I mean, you say ugliest, but in a way, I feel like it's you.
I am the ugliest, so I like it.
That is not what I said, but
that's all I heard. That's all I heard.
That's fine. That's fine.
I like it.
Well, cool, man. Did you have a great holiday?
Yeah, it's good times. Kids got stuff. Made mess.
Beautiful.
Now, same old. Another thing. More crap. Which means you throw away a bunch of crap. You can't see it, but behind me there's like 100 boxes of Christmas crap just laid out everywhere because it all needs to get put back up. But I think we're doing that after the new year.
Yeah, that makes sense. Why would you? Yeah, it's not the time to do that. Well, great, dude.
Hold on. That was a whole thing. And I think this exists, but I need to find out more information if it does. I really want Christmas as a service.
Oh, man.
I don't know that I'm rich enough or rich at all to afford it because maybe it's like a rich people thing. But I want someone to come and decorate. I want someone to come and wrap all the presents. I want someone to make it all magical and move the stupid elf and do all the things. And I want to just give you all my money so that I don't have to do it. I
mean, that definitely. I think there's a lot of people that would pay for that service, but I do think you're right. It's gonna come with a cost. I mean,
even just the wrapping, I think, is worth just having. It's like having somebody else do it. I feel like it's just So I was thinking about this when we were wrapping presents, and I didn't tell you about this, but I am very OCD. I'm a designer. I do creative direction. I look at every single little thing when we're making something. And when it comes to wrapping a gift, all that shit just goes out the window, and I don't give a fuck. It's just I hate doing it so much that it's it looks like I just wrapped some newspaper, crumpled it up, and just wrapped it around there. And I don't know how to wrap, and I hate wrapping. I just hate it. My hands are too big or something. I'm just it doesn't work, and I hate it. So anyway, it's my Christmas present anti-design rant.
I am the master rapper.
I can see that about you.
Yeah. I mean, there is a point, though, in which I'm okay, I think I'm done now. And there's still a lot left. But, yeah. Well, dude, great, man.
So I'm going to pay you.
Hey, let's work out a deal. So we're on episode 4. Man, we've been getting some really great feedback. Even from the people, some of our trusted friends that have no problem shitting on us. We've been getting pretty good feedback. Yeah. A lot of people commenting on YouTube, and we're getting,
My favorite thing about all that, though, is not that, I mean, it's nice to hear how amazing we are, but I love getting questions. We've been getting questions. Even people reach out to me and they're just well, yeah, but what about this type of stuff in a portfolio? And do you really not have a resume? Do you not, you know what I mean? I love that. I love that it's creating more questions for people because it creates more conversations with people outside of just me and you and people in the world. And it's that's the whole point of doing this. And I don't know, it's been awesome.
Well, one of the things we had talked about early on was kind of sharing some of some of what we're learning as we're going along. And you told me there was some pretty interesting stats in the around our YouTube channel. So I thought we'd start out just by digging into that, spending a couple of minutes there.
Yeah. Well, we have 237 subscribers.
Oh, so hell yeah.
That's awesome. My son saw that yesterday and kind of was what the hell? We've only been doing this a few weeks, because he streams on Twitch and he's only got a couple hundred subscribers.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. but still, it's like, now we're famous YouTubers in the eyes of our children. So like, now I feel like we've won,
Yeah, dude. Actually, Essex did the same thing. So my 7-year-old, who had proclaimed that he wanted to be a YouTuber, which is hilarious to me. He saw my stuff, or he saw one of our videos, and he was like, "What? 200 subscribers?" He was like, "Dad, you have to show me how to get more subscribers." Which he doesn't even have a YouTube channel yet. Which
we're gonna work on that. We're gonna work on that. Yeah. So let's see some other cool.
What
stuff. Else? One, I think, and this is actually the coolest thing to me, because it's like, obviously it's like, we have a bunch of friends and we know a bunch of people in the industry, and obviously like friends and family and stuff will obviously like our stuff and check it out. But more than 60%, actually, no, I can't do math. More than 70% of the traffic and views that we get to our videos is actually coming from YouTube browse feature, suggested videos, and YouTube searches, which means that like it's not our peeps. It's like random people. Then YouTube is like actually putting our stuff out there and sharing. You know what I mean? Like we're like in the algo. I
was about to say that we're part of the algorithm.
Yeah. So like we're in there, and like the numbers totally show like it's not just people. Actually, the direct and the channel pages ones actually is like the lowest numbers of our viewership. So to me, that was like, I thought it was just like all our homies like watching our stuff and be like, "Hey, good job," but it's like, it's not. These are like random people. And the reason that I on top of that, I dove deeper and realized that we've got like a good European viewership. Our top country is the UK, and goes deeper.
Really?
It's London. Yeah. So like that's our top one. So it's like the UK, Germany, then the US, then like a bunch of other little countries like thrown in there. So I don't know. It's like maybe we're famous in the UK. We're gonna be like, those crazy Americans. Yeah,
they just think we sound funny.
Yeah, they hate my accent, and they're just like, Texas design bullshit.
That's pretty. That's pretty wild, though, man.
No, I mean,
I would have just assumed like most of the traffic was coming from the States, and then on top of that, like Texas from just like people that know us.
The other little thing which I thought was cool is, it's like, because we kind of started this whole thing with like the idea of helping people get into the industry and like all the shit that nobody tells you in school and like all that kind of stuff, right? So it's like an educational type of a thing. And our viewership, the top is 18 to 24-year-olds.
All right. That seems to align with at least some of the conversations we've had thus far.
Totally. And so it's people in college, getting out of college, figuring out what they're doing with their life. And then right behind that, it's like 31% is 18 to 24 and 29.7% are 25 to 34. So it's like you got the people that are figuring it out at the beginning. You got the people, that are like getting up in there,
advancing their careers.
And then 18% is like, the people our age that are like, towards, getting like in the management, executive, all that kind of stuff level. So I don't know.
Nice.
I thought that was really cool. So
that is pretty cool, man.
But yeah,
I like that we're in the algorithm now. We're getting featured on, we're coming up in searches and that kind of stuff.
So here's, I don't want to call it bad, but it's a room for growth stat. So total, all of our views of like, we've got 3 episodes live, right? So it's almost 5,000 views that they've gotten, and 4,473 of that 5,000 are people that aren't subscribed to the channel.
Huh. Okay. All right. Well,
which every video, every channel that I listen to, they all say that. They'll show the stat and be like, 60% of you guys aren't subscribed, so please hit the subscribe button and the bell, and it's like their little little jingle.
Well, we need to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
I think it's right down there, right?
I don't know. But it's somewhere.
People listening just on Spotify or iTunes
just
or whatever.
Shake your phone.
Yeah. Is that how it works? I don't think so.
That would be a sweet feature.
Well, sweet, man.
But yeah, no, I thought that was cool. So some stats for this episode.
Man, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I love, so you and I have talked a little bit about taking this seriously. I mean, we had a podcast in our previous life, which was just total bullshit.
It was fun though.
But kind of looking at those stats, it was fun. But looking at those stats and kind of figuring out how to, improve things. I don't know. It's new and interesting territory.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Because we have, if you want to dig, you could find our other podcast, which was a lot of just, you shouldn't, because it's literally ramblings for hours of me and you, which sometimes maybe that's what people are into. We could like make a whole playlist of that. But I was thinking about this the other day, because I feel like we've not just said like, oh, we're taking this one seriously, like it's different. And I'm wondering if the video piece of this, like if it makes it feel more real, like meaning like we should care more, can't just go and talk. It's not just me looking at you in the same room and having a drink. Like we, you know what I mean? Like we're trying to really do something almost like this is a course and try to like get real information out there. Like we're talking to it, like our design team, and like I don't know, there's something about the visual, for me. I'm curious if it's that way for you. Because I don't know, in audio, I feel like whatever, I can talk and say things and it doesn't matter. Like I'll move on. But like the fact that my face is on it makes me really want to like take it much more serious and like make sure people get
who
content.
I am.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, before it's kind of like, just some voice on the, it might not even subscribe or listen. But now I don't know, it feels so real and like I care. Not that, I'm just curious where you are with that or if I'm just stupid.
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it that way. I think I just thought about before, what we did before was just, we talked about any random thing. And I mean, this one obviously is more focused around design. Obviously we still ramble a bit, but, yeah, man, I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it that way.
I was just curious. Yeah. I'm a weirdo.
Well, talking about the rambling and all that, we should probably get into it.
Let's do it.
So we've got some cool things to talk about today, I think. What do you want to get started with?
I want to start with our first one, which is the imposter syndrome stuff, because I think it's really relevant.
It's a hot topic.
It's relevant in general, but I think personally between me and you, I think it's relevant. And this is what I mean by that. Like, for the people that don't know Steve is like, he's like a face you don't forget. And like, if you go to like a conference with him, like every 3 steps you take, someone's like, Steve, and they want to sit there and talk with him, and you just stand there awkwardly, like waiting for a chance to like meet a person. But like, he always like dresses nice. Like he'll wear button-ups. He used to like go crazy. Like he'd wear suits and like red pants and like white outfits. And like, like he was always like dressed to like the nines. And this is like, even early on, like not like just as like a manager, like you were always very put together. And I watched you, just like making your way up the ladder, in the design industry. And like, I'm the complete opposite. Like I've always just been like shorts and a t-shirt and some flip-flops. And like, I used to always think, as what people always say, it's like, you got to dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. And I'd always look at you and I'd be like, maybe I'm not going to like get where I want to be because I'm not like put together, in that way. And so I don't know. I think there's probably a lot of people out there that like see their manager or their boss or the CEO or whatever, and they're so put together and wearing 3-piece suits or something, and like, they're thinking like, is that what I have to do to like get where I want to be? So
interesting. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's an interesting thought. So, I've always been a little crazy with, how I put myself together. And then I spent a little bit of time in the fashion industry and all that. But even as a kid, I was always like, as a kid, most kids would wear just normal, blue jeans, just denim blue jeans or whatever. And I was always trying to find like orange or purple or whatever. So I've always dressed, I think a little different. I actually wore dress shoes to school when all the kids were wearing, sneakers or tennis shoes or whatever. I don't really know why I did that. I think part of it was because my grandfather, he worked in the, he was a senator, and he dressed crazy too, though. So he didn't wear normal suits. He wore like pink suits and whatever.
He was a pimp. It's okay. You can say it.
Well, it does sound like a pimp. Yeah. But the funny thing is he was like it wasn't really a farmer, but we lived out in the country, and he wore, if he wasn't dressed up in a suit to go to the Capitol, he was wearing overalls, like railroad conductor overalls with the little blue and white stripes. But maybe that's where I got that. But yeah, no, I don't remember. I mean, I used to always, I don't know, maybe I was just trying to get attention or something. But yeah, I've always done that. But I do think, so one thing you said, like, I don't know if I thought about that in terms of like building, my career, because so I worked in the fashion industry for a while, still in technology and design, but everybody around you, was always, trying to dress fancy or whatever. Then I started working for my first startup, and it was like I had joined this company when they were probably like 60 people, and there was a couple of designers, and it was, the majority was all developers and sales folks and things like that. And there was basically this uniform that was like khaki cargo shorts and a t-shirt. And so when I started, I was still dressing, schmancy or whatever. But over time I started, relaxing a lot, to the point where I started wearing the khaki cargos with flip-flops and a t-shirt. And there was one point in which I just looked at myself, and I was like, I fucking look like a slob. And so I started like putting myself back together again, which of course then you get all the comments like, oh, what time's your interview or whatever. Mm-hmm. But for me, it just kind of made me feel, more productive or something. I don't know. It was like I actually put in effort in getting myself together, and even like the whole act of, when Anthony, a mutual friend of ours, that he and I had started a company after that technology company. We even did a thing where, because we worked from home, and so it was like, how do you break up the, home versus work versus just being at home? And Anthony had this thing of like, yeah, whenever work's over, like I'll take off my shoes. So it's like, it's a very important thing to like put your shoes on in the morning and take them off. And I started doing that, and it actually it kind of worked. Like it was like this psychological thing. So I don't know if maybe me getting myself dressed, helped me, in that manner. But
like
I do think there is one thing. Turns on like going to work mode. Yeah, it's like maybe your over the top moment with Sylvester Stallone. It's like you're flipping the switch. And exactly. I love it. Many people aren't gonna get that reference.
No one will get that reference, but it's fine.
But there is one thing I think is interesting. So, my previous company, I had a team. We'd gotten up to about 50 or whatever, but I had one of my principals that had a group of people that reported up to him, and he would dress so shitty. Like he'd wear like the sweats with the shirt that didn't match and or the tennis shoes or whatever. And there was a point in which I was actually like, dude, like, you actually need to kind of put yourself together a little bit. Like, I don't care if you wear shorts or whatever, but man, you clash so bad. But he was open to it. I don't feel like I can, say that to anybody about how you dress.
That's what's interesting though, right? It's like, I feel like I dress the way that I do almost as a fuck you. Like, not you, fuck you, but like as like a fuck you to like the industry, to like, I don't know. Like I feel like with anything where I'm just like, I don't want anybody to ever put me in a box. Like I'm going to be myself no matter what. And
I'm into that.
But
there's a reason.
But like the part of that's like, I think I said it in like the first episode or something. I was just like, when I was 17, I decided right then, it was like, I'll never work somewhere with a dress code. Like if you think I need to look a certain way, then I'm not in the right place. Not saying that you saying that to him. I get it. It's like, you don't want to look homeless, you know, because I don't want to look homeless.
Okay.
But like,
yeah.
so maybe there's a level of like
there's
versus homeless.
I mean, you see dudes that wear, like, I love, you know, street style. Like, I mean, like, you know, put together, not like homeless street person, but like, you know, like, I don't know, you want to call it hip hop, like dress hip hop attire, whatever. Like where you can wear like whatever you want to wear. Like people wearing joggers, that became very popular for a while, and you could look like a total professional wearing joggers or whatever. But I mean, there is like you can wear jeans and a t-shirt and still look fine. But at the time, this individual, they just looked so bad. But the problem was, or what I foresaw, the problem for them was that they started having more and more people that reported to them. In my head, I do think there is like, you don't need to wear a suit, definitely not a 3-piece suit that you had mentioned earlier. But I do think you do have to look. And this is just my opinion. I'm going to be really curious what some of the folks think.
Yeah.
I think you do need to dress yourself in a way that you, you know, get some level. I guess it's the people around you, like who you need to get respect from. And if it's, you know, a team that reports up to you, I don't know. I feel like you at least need to look respectable. Now, whenever our company was a lot smaller, when it was just like 5 of us, yeah, none of us gave a shit. We all wore like just shorts and whatever all the time. But at a certain point, you know, people that are getting hired that don't know you, they're not working with you every day. I don't know. This is an interesting conversation because I do feel like there's some level of like, yes, I respect that person. It's hard to look at it like, you use the word street person. I know it's like an extreme example, but think if like someone was wearing stained white t-shirt with, you know, shorts with no belt or something, and you're like, that's who you report to, and you're like, I'm supposed to like look up to this person or whatever.
So here's my thoughts on that. Because the word you use, respect, right? And I'm in a different boat, but
your team's different.
But in a different way, I approach it. So my goal when I go into, because I work with huge giant companies like are $1 billion and stuff, and like I literally like I'll travel to Germany or something and have to be in a room with like crazy people wearing suits. But the beauty of being a designer,
yep, I knew where you were going,
is my goal. And I do this too with conferences or even like with this show. Like I'm wearing this crazy shirt. Like when I leave that, I want them to remember me, even if I don't say a word. Right? Mm-hmm. That's literally what I go into anything with. Right? So like, for example, I went to Germany and basically doing this design workshop for like a week. I bought the craziest like Hawaiian shirts you've ever seen. And this is like the fancy place where like everyone is wearing a suit and like everyone is like cut, clean, perfect. And it's Germany because like they're very clean and cut. And I had like tigers and stuff, like huge ones like on me. And so I think there's something to like when they leave there, especially if you do say something that was like, oh, damn, they know what they're talking about. That's first. Second, when you leave, they're going to be like, man, that dude wearing that tiger shirt was a badass. Like he said some really good stuff, right? And so even like this hat, like I used to wear it all the time and like people will just remember it. And like little things like that. It's like, I think you could pull off a white t-shirt and some sweatpants if you do it in a way, the words come out in a certain way, and it's like you're like owning a certain type of style and your goal is to be remembered. Right? You don't want to be remembered as a homeless person. You want to be remembered as a designer. You know? Okay,
I think you kind of hit it because I think the key is actually tried or like whatever, like
effort.
You did put some effort into like, you know, this persona or this like your appearance or whatever. And I think you also, the designer comment you made when I was working at that for that first technology startup, we had some big prospective clients coming in, and our mutual buddy, John, which was, working there at the time. He was like one of our first buddies just to have like full sleeve tattoos or whatever. And, so he came in and he was like dressed wearing a button down. He thought, like, in his head, he was like, man, I need to look like professional or whatever. But our CEO was like, John, what are you wearing? He was like, what do you mean? He was like, dude, roll up your sleeves or something. Like, I want them to see like all your tattoos and shit. I want them to see how cool you are. Cause it was this whole idea of, like you said, like the designer's not just like, some schlub or whatever,
Yeah.
Not just one of the people that works here that wears the normal shit. But, so I think that's an interesting point. I also think that, even though even still, like, even though I would wear like button downs or whatever, I never wanted to be the same as anyone else. I'm with you. I kind of, personally, I have my own style. I want to maybe stand out, I guess. I don't guess. I'm pretty sure that's probably it. I just hadn't really thought about it. But so, like, like I've been down for wearing the top button or whatever, the whole cholo style. But there's this, what you do start to see is there's this like executive uniform, even that's not like wearing a suit, which is like an express button down shirt with like the khakis and I don't know, a lot of these dudes wear the like little puffy vest or whatever.
Yeah.
Which,
if you have your
ones,
VC and you wear your North Face vest over your button up. Yeah.
That's exactly it. Which is funny because it's totally a thing. Like, you see, and it doesn't like look bad. What makes it funny is that like it is a very like, that's something they would have on that TV show about the startup. I can't remember what it's called right now. The one on HBO. They would have that guy come in, and you don't know what I'm talking about, where they go to TechCrunch. It's basically like a
Silicon Valley.
Yeah, Silicon Valley. They would totally have that as a character that came in and sounded all like, I don't know, douchey or whatever. But anyway. No, there's also, I heard someone make this comment one time, and I don't know if I think it's accurate or not. I think there's potentially some truth to it, but it stuck in my head regardless. And it was one of my previous executives. Everyone would put themselves together for these big sales pitches or whatever. Whether you're putting yourself together like me or one of the guys just wearing the express uniform, but he came in just wearing a t-shirt, and he was like, he was kind of a goober, so I'm not sure if his opinion of it was accurate, but he was like, once you're at once you're in the C-suite, you just wear whatever you want. And I was like, I think there's maybe some truth to that, but I think you have to totally have like you said earlier, you come in with like real knowledge or command a room, or there has to be something. I don't know.
I think it's just, I don't know. I feel like my dad would say that's just like, this is me being me. Like I was never a person that wanted to do anything the way that somebody else did it.
I'm with you,
company,
man.
dress.
We just have
codes,
two different versions
whatever.
of that.
No. I'm with you. I think it's hard for people is my point. I think there's lots of people that try and don't want to wear the suits and don't want to like do that, but they do still want respect, and they're trying to figure out how to do it. And I think the way
that's
that
where you find dudes that wear oversized suits, looks like they're wearing their dad's suits or whatever.
Well, what I was gonna say is I think that if that's something that you're worried about, or like you want to look a certain way, then let your work and the things you say drive everyone's opinion about you, not what you're wearing.
That's undeniable. I totally agree with that. But, I think people trying to put themselves together, I also think people largely are trying to figure out what makes them look cool,
Well, there's that, but there's also,
or whatever, what makes them feel good.
Well, so that's the other part of this whole thing is like this whole conversation probably doesn't even matter anymore since everyone works from home and doesn't even wear pants. So it's like, with everyone being remote, and like it's going to be, it's hard to have self-style, when you're like waking up and rolling out of bed and turning your computer on and now I'm working,
Dude, I completely agree. I did. I mean, I started doing that too, where like it just quit mattering. And then once I did start going around people again, I was like, it actually took effort. I was like, what am I wearing?
You're like, damn, I kind of stink.
Well, so dude, a few years ago, as we, my previous company went from like 5 to like, 250 or whatever, it did get to a point where we were meeting with other companies that did require that we have ourselves put together, whether it was my style, the express uniform or whatever. But what I found is that I started buying stuff, and you just over time you buy like, oh, that shirt, that'll work. What I realized is I was around dudes that were all wearing the express uniform, and I know I said it, but the express uniform being like, a white or a blue button down with some khakis with some nice shoes or whatever and a belt, or I don't know, whatever. You just look like you bought stuff from Express. And yeah, so anyway,
off the mannequin.
Yeah, off the mannequin. So at a certain point, like, I don't know, a couple of years had gone by, because there was that point in which I still wore like the purple pants and red shoes, and like a friend of mine, Jeanette, she still makes comments to this day of like she would always, people would come in and be like, she would actually look at me and say, look how this guy dresses. Well, he's our designer. So I was like, okay, thank you. But I kind of went from that to like, I started morphing into the guy that wore the Express uniform. And there was a day I actually looked at myself and I was like, what the fuck? This isn't me. Like, my wife was like, thought I was having like some sort of crisis or whatever, because I got rid of everything. And all I wore for 2 years was just black, gray, and denim. And it actually made me like feel better. I felt cooler again. I was like, all right, I'm getting back to at least some version of me versus just,
all I think of when I think about you getting dressed with different things is that red suit that you had. Or like, I think it was a suit. I just remember like red pants, red shoes, red jacket, and be like, it's like, like the devil in one of like a TV show or something, like all dressed up in red, But yeah, no, it's also too, it's like we have different body structures. Like it's like I was always jealous of people that had like that more like smaller Asian like body style and just look all GQ in a suit. And you put that same suit on someone that's 6'2", 250 pounds, and it does not look the same at all, And so I don't know. I want to go to like Indonesia and just have like clothes made for me, But anyway,
it's actually a great idea.
I think we talked about the clothes piece, but there's another piece to imposter syndrome that I feel like should be brought up. I don't know where we are with time, but I think we've got a lot of friends, you included, like, so you can't help but to compare yourself to other people that you're around. And we're around some pretty baller people, that are
totally
like executive in like the creative space for like the biggest brands in like the world, and it's like we're on forums and stuff with them. We'll chat with them and have conversations at places and stuff. And like, I've always felt, just because a lot of them too are in a much more corporate world than I live in.
Right.
I'm very much a startup world, and they'll be just like reporting and all of this types of stuff that like they put all their focus and time on, that I'm just like, I feel a lot of times like, am I not doing the right thing? Like, cause I don't even care about that. Like that seems dumb to me. Like, not saying what they're doing is dumb, but more just like, it's different than like any of the things that I care about and that I focus on, and building my teams and building the products and doing different stuff. And so it's like, I think there's like comparison, like emotional side to like, am I not even just how I look,
totally,
but like, am I even doing the right things from like a management perspective,
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's scared me a lot for a lot of years.
That's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I think they say like you shouldn't compare yourself or whatever, but how can you not, right?
Yeah.
It's like peers in the industry doing things that you do. And I think part of us comparing ourselves is us wanting to make sure we're doing the best we can do. And are we doing things, right, quote unquote, or whatever that means. But one of the things I also think is that I know it gets said a lot, but I think our brains just can't comprehend it. I think we always think people have things figured out that we don't, or whatever. But I do think people are just always figuring it out. Like so at my previous company, we got really into doing like, a lot of design research, a lot of stuff that is kind of more, common now, I guess. But as it started to go from just like, more UX research to like design thinking methodologies and, deeper research or whatever, I just would make these assumptions. I was like, well, this is what everybody's doing. This is what all the other companies are doing. I would assume, because it's kind of what we're doing and it's what we're hearing about. But what I realized over time, and of course, like I not only wanted to like, for one, I wanted to just stay up. I want to keep up with like what's going on in the industry. Two, I wanted to like do something better. I wanted to be ahead of the industry and try to figure out things, because that's just what you want to do, right? Yeah. I'm not saying I'm special. Everybody wants to do that. But what I realized over time as we started, interviewing people that came from some of these other companies that I thought were doing things very similarly to us, was that they weren't doing it at all. Like they had talked about it, and it wasn't that they didn't want to do it, but there's stuff that you want to do and then being able to sell that. Maybe there's some of it that you do and you just call it part of like the design process. Sometimes that's a technique we could talk about another time. But there's also just being able to sell like weeks of doing design research, which is not necessarily easy, especially considering the fact that it's only been a handful of years that design has even gotten the level of respect where they're not like, no, we don't need that. We just need developers. But so my point in saying that is like, you're talking about like people talking about all these different things that maybe you don't feel like I wouldn't say care about, but maybe aren't relevant. That's just because everybody's work. I think that's largely because everybody's workplace is just a lot different. So you've got above and below you, and it's got above you what they expect or what your company even needs, right? All of our companies need, I would say, pretty drastically different things. There's probably a lot of things that are similar, like the types of tools we use, maybe some of how we approach things, but then everything else has got to be really custom to not only what our type of company is, whether you're a product or a services company, the types of people you work with. Do you do development in-house or not? Maybe even what kind of development. And so I think once all those factors come in, or even what size of team, and I think I've been on some of those calls with you with some of these organizations that we're a part of, where we hear people that are just getting really caught up in like things that, I'm trying to think of a quick example, but like just even like titles and org structures and stuff like that, where, it's not necessarily easy, but the amount of conversation around it, like where I know there's one in particular you and I sat on for like an hour where you and I just started texting each other because we were like, man, none of this is like relevant, or at least not that it was an interesting conversation for 10 minutes, but we're still talking about it.
I think that's the hard part for me, right? Like I've always like tried to like ignore the noise and like just build my own thing, including like when I build a team and the way that we do things and the way that we work, and I'll figure out the way that it's going to work best for a team, just like you said.
Right.
But then I hear what other people are doing after I think I'm doing a good job, like doing it this way. And it's totally different than the way that they're doing it. And I'm like, you start to second guess yourself and you're like,
sure.
Did I fuck this up? Like, should I have done it that way? And I feel like most of the time, if I would have never heard that, I wouldn't have cared and I would have kept going and everything would have been great. But just the fact that we have so many friends, like we constantly hear what other people are doing that are in the same level as us. And like, it's like you said, it's hard. Like it's like, even now, like I feel like there's so many things that I'm like, man, is that what I was supposed to do? Like, cause I didn't do that at all. I didn't even think about doing that, And I don't know. It's interesting, but I think, like you said, everybody does it different.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, I think you doing that is because you want to make sure you're doing the best for your team, the best for your company, and the best for yourself even, I think the good thing though about having, you know, a group of peers that does things different is I think we probably all do some things, you know, maybe this isn't the right way to put it, but I think there's like value we can get from everybody, right? So like I'll learn that you do a thing a certain way and I'll be like, oh man, that's really interesting. I should try that. Maybe some things will work and some things won't. And then over time we start to kind of iterate almost like the design process on our own, you know, orgs or whatever. It's like, we're going to try this. And if it doesn't work, then fuck it, we'll quit doing it. But
I think what's interesting too, and you just made me think about it, is I think a lot of the things that, at least that I do, aren't because I want to do them. It's because I've fucked them up in the past and I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's why it's like a battle in my own head where I'm like, I used to do stuff like that kind of, and it sucked and I hated it and I don't ever want to do that again. And then, so I don't do it and everything's good. But then I hear that other people are still doing something like it. You know, it's just like, I don't know. It's a fight.
I think
with myself,
the way you're approaching it, I think the way you're approaching it is, I personally think is the right way. I think you should use your own experiences to try to create a thing, especially like, you know, you more often have created new teams and new companies or whatever. It might be, it would probably be different if you're going into an executive position at a already existing big company where you have to kind of understand their process. What I think the worst thing is when people are starting something new and they just cut and paste the thing that they came from, because then it's got all sorts of like bullshit included in there that isn't necessary, at least not necessary like getting started. And then over time, certain things might become necessary. You know, like the way that you have meetings or the types of meetings you have or like reviews and crap like that. But definitely starting from scratch, if you're starting a thing or have a small team, I think is the way to go.
We need to do a whole episode on reviews because, God, I hate nothing more than.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, we'll write that down.
Yeah.
We'll write that down and we'll have to follow up on an episode about reviews. But hey, why don't we jump into topic number 2? I mean, we could maybe go a little over. We've got like 15 minutes left.
All right. Actually,
I'll be interested what people think about this episode because we spent a lot of time on that one topic.
I mean, so actually topic 2, mine actually falls perfect into this, I think. So what we were going to talk about was just famous designers that we like, you know, that do something for us or like that do cool work or like we like their style, we like their personality, we like whatever. And the first person that came to mind for me was Aaron Draplin. And
this is perfect.
And it's perfect for the whole
segue.
idea of just like how you dress and how you look and how like, it shouldn't matter. And because if you don't know Aaron Draplin, look him up. Draplin, Draplin, and he is like an amazing branding designer. Like he does beautiful branding. I think he actually was the founder or one of the founders of Field Notes, if I'm not correct. So
there's a story there. I can't remember. He's definitely one of the guys that made it big.
But when you see him and you're gonna like do an image search and you'll be like, no, it's not that guy. That guy looks like a truck driver, you know, like because he's a big dude, you know, big beard, you know, like wears like a Carhartt jacket and like looks like, you know, he's like a 70s truck driver, and I think he's awesome, like because he just like he owns his look, his style, and it's just like I let the work speak for itself, you know.
Man, that really is a perfect segue, and also, Aaron Draplin is freaking awesome. I've seen him talk a few times, and if you ever have an opportunity to in person, super cool. He's got great YouTube videos too. And actually, I think you mentioned he has like a masterclass.
I think there is a masterclass, but there's not. There's definitely like courses or something about building a brand. Because like the thing I love about like with the videos and stuff that he'll put out is, and it's like it's totally like a selfish thing because it's like, he's awesome and he works the way I do, so that's why, you know. Because like what he'll do is like instead of like, one, he does a ton of like research about historical brands. Like he'll look at like bumper stickers from the 70s and like cool pins that were enamel from the 40s and like all.
So you know
this,
he's a
vintage
picker.
stuff. Oh, I didn't know that. Like he actually like picks and sells and stuff. Like,
I don't know if he sells stuff,
he's a hoarder.
but he goes. It'd be interesting to see, but I know he does. He goes. He takes like trips. I don't know if it's across country, but he takes big trips with like a gang of, friends, and they go and they find this old vintage stuff. And yeah, that's how he gets a lot of his inspiration,
so
which makes it also, all his work is so like iconic.
Totally. But then like, so the way that he does it too is, a lot of people will jump into Illustrator or Sketch or whatever they use, and they'll like focus in on one thing and try to make a thing, right? And what he does is it's almost like he's making digital sketches. He'll make like 100 of them, like 100 different brands that all kind of look different in different fonts. And then he kind of like a painter, you like look back and be like, all right, these are standing out to me. Let me grab those and group it over here, and then like kind of digging these. Don't like that. These are trash, and it's like this, like if you were like watching it live, like you're just kind of like seeing the whole thing unfold and like becoming this whole thing. Oh, that's dope.
Have you seen that thing?
No.
Yeah. So I need to put that up. But yeah, he did. I don't know if you can hear me, but yeah. So it's this poster of Texas, and he's got all these things that are relevant to Texas, and all these little illustrations that he did, and then got a little signature there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I feel like Whataburger should be bigger, but that's just me.
That's a good point.
But no, I've always I dig the work he does. I dig the way he works, and I dig that he just is kind of like a fuck you. This is how I look and what I wear, and I don't really.
He's very. That is exactly. You're totally right. That's such a perfect segue because he is the fuck you guy, and he's very open about that. He doesn't want to have a big company. I think he's got a pretty small company. I'd be really curious, how big it is, but yeah, super, super interesting guy. I mean, it's like a little shop that he has like down. I think he may even like just work from his house. I'm not sure, but
I need to dig into that. I think me and him should be friends.
I feel like makes sense.
I need to make that happen. Hey, Aaron, if you're watching, hit me up.
Well, is there anything else you want to say about it?
I mean, no, I love you.
I think that's perfect. Yeah. I love you. So what even makes this even better, because we talked about, picking a couple of like famous designers. Someone's on the other realm, which now it feels silly. I feel like we're both picking personas that are like,
are us.
Similar, but I don't know if I'm this guy, but do you know who Tobias, I don't know how to say names. We already learned this, but Tobias van Schneider.
The name sounds familiar, but I need to look it up. And
so this dude, he's totally the opposite. I mean, he kind of actually dresses so I mean, it's not like I know this guy, but I've seen him speak before. He's got like this long. So for one, he's got this long ass beard, but he's like a really small guy. He's got like the beard of like a giant. And then he's got like this mustache that curls up. And he dresses kind of like, street, all black. Really interesting looking dude. So he just looks, he looks pretty cool. But this guy, he's like quite the entrepreneur and businessman too. So he grew up in Germany, or actually I think he was born in Germany, grew up in Austria, and he lives in New York now. I did a little bit of research on him, found out he dropped out of high school when he was 15. He tried to become an engineer. He said that what I read that he had written was that he sucked at engineering, and kind of jumps to him, becoming a designer. And so he worked for, a handful of obviously notable places like, Apple, man, I didn't write all these notes in here.
NASA.
Where did he work for? Spotify, NASA. I was just trying to think of some of the best ones. BMW, Sony, just a bunch of like the biggest brands you've ever heard of. And he's created a couple of products as well. And so going back to our last episode about portfolios, he has this product called Simplice. I don't know if that's how you say it or not, but anyway, Simplice, and it's like a portfolio platform. But also, this is really relevant to what we were talking about before. This is one that like I think you have to be able to do a little bit of coding, not a ton, but you've got like the ability to make it look however you want and have like total control. And what's kind of even more interesting is, I guess he had gotten feedback, a lot of times from people that not everyone wanted to do that much custom work or wanted to have to know how to, do any coding. So he ends up partnering with this company called Carbon Made, which actually I've used in the past just to have a portfolio of the work that we did for one of my previous companies. And for Carbon Made, you just literally like load screenshots and then write a little blurb about what it is. It's like you couldn't do anything less for a portfolio. And so I thought it was interesting because he kind of has this one that's on one end of, it's not quite building a site from scratch, but from what I understand, there's a level of complexity you have to understand, some front end development. And then he realizes that like there's a big gap between what he's got as a product and what part of his user base needs. And so he ends up, I don't know what the deal looked like. I was thinking maybe it was an acquisition, but I was looking and it looks like he just partnered with, and he's the co-CEO of Carbon Made. So I thought that was pretty dope. It kind of fills both of those niches that we were talking about last week from a portfolio standpoint. And his big thing, I guess, was like he's very passionate about design portfolios. So, people should definitely go check it out.
It's really nice.
Van Schneider is his website. He's a freaking great designer too. VanSchneider.com. Obviously, we're going to put show notes in here so you don't have to go type all this stuff in, but pretty badass. He also created this app that I started using. I haven't stuck with using it, but I do think it's really cool. I haven't worked it into my flow or anything, but it's called My Mind. So it's basically like a personal, well, this might be a horrible way to describe it, but I kind of think it's like a personal Pinterest for everything. So you can clip like things from the web with a little extension, and it can be like text clippings, videos, imagery. I mean, you can do all sorts of stuff with it. And I think you can make groupings or whatever, which is kind of interesting when you're working on a project to create like your own personal little mood boards or whatever, or just have inspiration.
No, this is awesome.
But yeah, so also a pretty cool dude I think people should know about. And like, I don't know a ton about him, but I know who he is and I know some of the work he's done. But yeah, you and I were talking about a topic that we thought would be cool. And I think these are two great designers to start with, kind of totally opposite ends of the spectrum.
No, I think we need to probably do this more, like talk about designers and like designers that like made us want to be designers and designers that we look up to, and and just like things that like I'd be interested too of the people that are listening, like designers that they like give us a comment on YouTube and like tell us who your favorite designer is or who made you want to be a designer, because like I don't know, I love hearing that. And like there's so many people out there and so many designers and artists and everything that like you just, when you see something new or in some person, you're just like, damn, that's so good. I wish I would have done that.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at this My Mind site right now that you're just talking about, and I'm like, I just love those background shadows that they have on these little things.
The other thing I love about it is that these guys are, I'm going to say, just designers. Like, and I say the just part, I think people say that, but like they're designers, and they're like, they both have created like really good livings for themselves. They're both doing wildly interesting work, and they're like fucking famous dudes in the design industry. Actually, you know what I think is really cool? Like, what cooler way to be famous within like your niche of people?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the whole celebrity famous thing, like money is awesome, but like, dude, how shitty would it be to like not be able to go anywhere, without, not just be able to live a normal life. These guys, they're famous. They're like famous in the design industry. And so like if you and I see them, we're like, hey, what's up or whatever. Hopefully we wouldn't be obnoxious or anything, but But I mean, I think that's cool. I think getting recognized from time to time, sounds cool, but you can still go live a life.
Oh yeah.
But these guys are like, I don't know if this is accurate. I don't even know if this is cool to talk about, but I mean, I think these guys both, being somewhat famous, I just looked up their net worth. Both of them actually, their net worth, what I was able to find, both says 1.5 million.
Which I mean are obviously guesses like online. Nobody knows like their accounting, kind of thing. But
yeah,
to your point, I think another way of saying what you're saying is they do what they love and they're known for it and they make a bunch of money doing it. Right. And like that is the dream, right? Like to do the thing that you love every day and people throw money at you. Yeah. And on top of that, it's like not even just like throw money at you for the thing you made, but like we just love for you to talk to us. Can you do a talk? And like we'll give you money there too, and like we just want to see the way you do work, and we'll just we'll make a course out of it or something. You know what I mean? Like people love the thing that they do. Like that's the goal. I mean, me and my wife always talk about it all the time how we like. It's like you want to be a billionaire and you want to be all this kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't really want that because then people know who you are. Like, I want to be like a few millions and like be totally fine and happy and not like have a need in the world. But like only the people that like are in like the space that like I care about like know me, like I always talk about like,
I mean, you can have like, no, go ahead.
No, I was like, I always think about like, who's the guy who invented the key ring? Because everyone has at least one key ring, but nobody knows that guy has to be like a multi-billionaire, right? But I don't know. You don't know who he is, or the guy who made the spoon. Like everybody's got one.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Right. Well, I think like you said, the thing that makes it makes it cool about being a notable designer is that the people that do come talk to you, like it's kind of like. Maybe I'm in the, maybe I'm wrong, but it's, it's kind of what you want to talk about. If somebody, said something to us and they're like, hey, you're doing the UX podcast. I was like, oh, sweet. How do you know us? And they're like, hey, I'm a designer. I'd be like, sweet. What are you doing? You could have like a cool, meaningful conversation about a topic that's something that you care about. But what I also think is cool, aside from these guys, just what I kind of thought was cool about us bringing up these, notable or famous designers is that like just so people know they're in an industry, so designers listening know they're in an industry where they can, if they want to, they can, like, design is so important. And you can just do a lot with it. I mean, obviously I'm using design as this big umbrella or whatever term, but like it's so important. I think I'm not shitting on engineering at all but I wanted to preface with that. But I think engineering was much harder to, I think it could be much harder to create like a more extraordinary amount of wealth. Not saying like engineers get paid a lot, and they should. This shit's hard. But, with engineering, I think, I believe requires design. Maybe you're one of those people that can build something and design something that people can use. Everybody's got their own skill sets, but as a designer, you're literally like part of what you do as a living in your practice is creating a thing that can be useful to the world or can solve these problems. And yeah, as a designer, you also probably, you're going to require an engineer. So, but I guess my point is like, you're kind of as the designer, you're kind of the mastermind, or you have the ability to be the mastermind of creating these amazing things that have the potential to create a lot of revenue and put you in a really good position. And anyway, I just thought these guys were two good examples of different ways to approach that.
So what's interesting about what you just said is it just brought back this memory I had. And this was like a bunch of years ago in San Francisco. And Conlon, my buddy Conlon, who I want to introduce you to, who's like badass with NFTs and stuff right now. He's got a company called Abstract. But so we worked together, and he was an iOS developer at the time. And essentially we were sitting there. I forget what we were talking about, but he was so passionate. He was just like, I love being a developer. he goes, being a developer is like a superpower. He's like, this thing doesn't exist, and I'm going to make it exist, and I'm going to make it fly. And so I think that even on the design side, it's like, when he said that to me, I was like, I've never thought about it like that, but I feel the same way. I was like, all I had was a problem in my head, and I dreamed up the solution for it. And I created a solution that's not only beautiful, but it's like useful. And then we're going to work together and we're going to build this thing, because we're fucking this superhero team that like builds things into reality, you know? And like, he was just like, he was just so excited about it. Like, and like, it's always stuck with me. Like, just how like happy he was.
Passionate he was.
Yeah. But it was just like, but it's like another level. There's like, I like doing my job. And then there's like, I'm so proud to like do what I do. And like, I don't know if I had ever felt that until he said it. And then it made me instantly proud about what I was working on, you know? So I don't know. There's something cool there.
No, I love it. No, I really love the designer, engineer, like super duos or whatever, which it sounds like you and Colin were to a certain extent, at least. Because I mean, honestly, and hopefully it didn't come off bad what I was saying earlier.
Yeah, you were like, fuck
but it was
devs.
just from, but it was just like from my perspective is what I was saying. Like, you're in a field where you can do so much, you know, being able to create things. But
we're dreamers, man. We get to dream up reality. That's why I don't know how it is with you guys, but like I go into these meetings for estimating, you know, how much time it's going to take for something, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, probably a week or two. I mean, there's literally nothing, and we're going to dream it up, you know? And I was like, we might get it on the first try. We might take 3 or 4 tries. Like, you're going to have to give us a chunk of time to figure it out.
Right.
Like, we literally are creating something from nothing, you know? And like, that is a superpower. Like, that is so important, you know? And not everybody can do that. That's what makes our industry so special, you know?
Yeah, not everybody can, which I think historically was what was painful for us as designers, is because so many people felt like they could. They just saw the end result, or they just saw pictures and colors. And like, my grandson, he'll do the design part.
Yeah.
Like,
or you spend all this time on it, like Shara said, and you'd be like, I just don't like blue. Can you change that to green? You know? I'm like, yeah, totally. Too many cooks in the kitchen, man.
We've all been there. Well, we're like right at an hour, man. You want to wrap this?
Let's wrap it.
All right, bro.
But not the way I wrap presents, though.
Not the way you wrap presents. No. That sounds good. Well, cool. All right. Well, hey, everybody. Thank you for the continued support, continuing to listen. Like 200 of you guys have freaking subscribed to our YouTube channel. We've gotten a ton of downloads through iTunes and Spotify. Really happy that we're creating content that's at least, you know, interesting to some of you guys. And hey, continue to give us feedback, send us questions, comment on YouTube.
Please comment. Like, even if you hated this episode, tell us that you hated it and stop talking about clothes and get back to talking about whatever. Like, tell us something, please.
Yep. All right. Well, awesome, everybody. I hope you have an amazing new year. We're just getting started. Man, I think it's going to be great, Ray. What about you?
No.
It'd be weird if you said no. You
thought like, I think 2022 is going to suck. It's going to be the worst one yet. You know. No, I think it can't get worse than everything that everybody's been going through. So there's only up. We can only go up.
That's how we complement each other as well. I'm trying to come with the positivity. You're coming with
that's
the
stupidest thing I've ever heard. It can get worse, but I hope it doesn't.
Yep. Well, hey, folks, with that, we will wrap this. Hey, again, I'm Steve, Stephen Ray, on all the platforms, Twitter, Instagram.
I'm Ray Hernandez, RayDog88 on all the things. Yeah.
Yep. And of course, we've got UX Weekly on all the things. So at UX Weekly, we finally hit the subscriber count that allowed us to get our custom YouTube extension. So now if you just go to youtube.com/UX Weekly, you'll find us there. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Till the next episode.
Later.
Deuces.